My name is Annie, 47 years old. Since I got married, I have been taking care of my husband, who had never done chores as a housewife. I met John, who is turning 50, the hospital I work. It was a common story, a nurse-patient relationship. When his discharge was announced, he out. He was good-looking and well-spoken, but he didn't know how to treat a woman. I was still naive back then, and I fell for him. We had smooth sailing into the marriage afterward. Unfortunately, we were not blessed with children, and our conversations diminished as we grew older. But we still went out for special occasions like birthdays and anniversaries. We weren't lovey-dovey, but an ordinary middle-aged couple.
Again?
I sighed disapprovingly at the sight. John had been coming home late those months. He often went to work on weekends too. So our barely existent couple time became non-existent. I stared at an empty notification or phone. He looked tech-savvy, but he was actually lagging behind, and used a senior phone, which has CC messaging apps, email, and call functions. He didn't even have Nokia before. But he willingly decided to get a shot, saying it must have been inconvenient. He wanted to master the phone. So he was training himself, even in bathroom, for the first 6 months. Considering that, it was a waste of time if he didn't use it for the purpose. Not hearing from him didn't mean I stopped and finished my dinner. He would, no doubt, said,
"Where's my dinner?"
On the other hand, if I prepared focused on a specific topic, I could write an article that would be of interest to people who are interested in that topic.
I already had dinner.
It was a dilemma. I didn't mean to complain to a husband who came home exhausted from work. It was just a bit sad to have the last of my lunch the next day, when I cooked it for him with love. One day, I got into a car to go shop. It was normally used as John's private property, which he took to work on weekdays and sometimes on weekends, so I rarely had a chance to drive it. He was unusually at home that day, while he was still sleeping. I planned to drive to a supermarket having a big sale far out of town. I switched on the navigation and was stunned to see the list of
What the heck? Cafe Kitty and aquarium?
Wait a minute, I'd never been to the places. Moreover, it had been a month since the car last time. I felt a cold sweat running down when I found many other histories that sounded work-related. I breathed in deep to calm myself. I took a picture of the screen with trembling hands. John had come back wasted from a bus entertainment at around 1 a.m. He was still in his deep slumber, snoring away. It was the only chance. I liked watching crime dramas, and my characters were crime scene invest. I pretended to be one and bent over under the seats and the trash meticulously. I found a long string of curly brows and a tiny gold earring in her left ear.
Yes, secured. Not my hair.
I kept my hair short, which was easy to care for. John and I didn't have our ears pierced until we were in high school. I was too anxious to drive, so I went car shopping. Once I returned inside the house, I cooked as if nothing had ever happened. It had been 20 years since I became a housewife. I usually prepare 2 types of breakfast. I normally prepare 2 types of breakfast. Ironed John's shirt and handkerchief, polished his leather shoes every night, and cooked a healthy dinner. I had mastered everything he wished, yet he betrayed me. I was humiliated and didn't want to it. A short while later, John got up.
Morning. Which one would you like? A smoothie bowl or eggs and bacon?
I had too much to drink last night. Have a smoothie bowl.
I left a newspaper on a dining table.
I served breakfast in front of him, who was reading the paper in the background. I go through the trouble of preparing different meals. What a nice wife I was! It was a usual breakfast scene. I sat down across from him, pretend calm.
Home, can I borrow the car today? I want to go to a supermarket during the big sale. I want to buy some things in a supermarket during the big sale.
Are you sure? You haven't driven for a long time.
I'll be fine. I'll use the navigation system.
I don't trust you. I'll go instead.
I smiled at him, who spoke cautious was choosing the right words.
Let's go together then.
Okay, I'll clean the car after I finish. You get ready.
He folded the papers haphazardly and his breakfast in a rush. He was still wearing his nightrobe, saw him run out of the house. I waited for the front door to close, and then I put the hair in piercing it. The Ziploc bag with a date and time and hid in the back of the cupboard. I went out with John for the first months that day. The car was vacuumed, and there wasn't a single speck of dust inside. When I started the navigation, the history had been deleted. I thought to myself that I would let this time pass, without any intervention, as it was not enough evidence, but there was going to be a second. I glared at John, who was strangely me in my mind. Things were peaceful for the next few months until my birthday. It was when the unexpected happened. John was getting off work early, so we were supposed to have dinner together.
I booked a French in the mall at 8:30 tonight. Don't be late.
I reminded him that he was preparing breakfast, but he gave me a half-hearted groan. Maybe he didn't get enough sleep because he was home late again last night. Since the shopping day, he must be on himself, because he started letting me know that he was going to be late. Thanks to that, I stopped having a dilemma about his dinner, but the lateness remained the same. It made me concerned about his heel over work. I dressed up for the occasion, and we sixed the restaurant at night. It was located about 15 minutes by and was at a quiet corner on the top of the mall. I was seated in the back, looking out at the parking lot. I texted John and then ordered an A. He didn't reply to my text. After 30 minutes of waiting, I found him. When he answered after ringing 4, sounded bothered.
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, where are you? I texted that I was waiting for you at the restaurant. I texted that I was waiting for you in the restaurant.
Oh yeah, my bad. I'm slumped at work. Can't make it.
What? What do you mean? You always got off on time for special occasions. You could have let me know earlier if you couldn't make it.
He clicked his tongue, as if to say celebrating his wife's birthday was a nuisance.
I didn't even have time to do that. I'm working, unlike you who is at home doing whatever you like. Anyway, I can't make it tonight. Cancel dinner. Got it. Bye.
Wait a minute. When I was about to hold him back, he had already hung up on me. It wasn't any day, but my birthday. As I gave in, I called my waiter to explain that mishap and told him that I would pay for the pre-booked course. He kindly suggested having dinner, just paying for myself. As I contemplated, my phone pinged W from John. Did you cancel? I was upset by the online text apology. I sent back a bitter reply. Yeah, just your part. Then I turned to the waiter.
I'll take up on your suggestion.
Even if I went back home now, there was nothing to eat. Since it was a Wednesday, the restaurant was only half full. I decided to celebrate my birthday with friends in a quiet place. I even planned to post my complaints and pictures on social media then. I had been just looking through it every day. But that's how it was supposed to be. John had no interest in media, and it was frustrating sometimes. But I was glad then. He was not a good general. I enjoyed a beautiful course, tasty bites, and swallowing them down with my fruit juice. I stared out of the window with Tips just looking at the cars in the park. Then I saw a familiar one among them, John's car. A stranger walked toward it. I was totally stunned by what my eye the next few seconds. An elegantly dressed young woman with an unmatched supermarket eco bag and long curly hair got into the car naturally. The alcohol in me evaporated in seconds. I scurried to record on my phone, but too late. The car drove away in the opposite direction from our home. There was a strip of bars and an old alley in that direction, and also a motel. My anger started to simmer. It was the moment that turned what vague to clear. My phone got a ping. John wrote. It was a familiar message, but since the scene, it just angered me even more. I should have made him sorry, the other. It was my fault for giving him the benefit of the doubt. I quickly paid my bill and got in a home. I tried to call John several times, never picked up. I texted him to come home soon. And as soon as I got back in the house, I threw my phone on the sofa. I waited for a while for him. Then he finally showed up carrying a demeanor and gave me an eco-friendly shopping bag from a supermarket.
Hey, sorry to miss the dinner. This you.
Inside a big bag, there was a piece with a discounted price tag. If it were a normal time, I could have, but I was furious instead.
What were you doing?
I was working.
What kind of work is picking up A and driving away?
What?
I threw back the bag with a cake at. I went to grab the Ziploc from and then shove it into him.
I found these in your car. You're on me. I want a divorce.
He was flustered, and I was determined to get to the truth. But I was astounded by what he had.
What are you talking about? Where's your proof?
What?
Here's a link to the article.
He shouted at me so loud, I flinched, to which he grinned as he won.
I guess these were from the colleagues who rode with me once. What I'm asking is, do you have any evidence that I'm having an affair?
I saw unusual histories on your car navigation. I took a picture of it. And I saw you tonight. I only canceled your part and had my there. I saw from the window your car pick woman in the parking.
He deliberately let out a long sigh.
What you saw on the navigation is I was looking for a place to take your friend, and a car I saw wasn't mine tonight.
Yes, it was.
Show me your proof. If you insist, have a picture.
The moment I hesitated, he punched at.
You get hysterical and accuse me when I'm so tired from work, and even disregard me for doing it can do. How can you be like that without core evidence? You should be ashamed of yourself.
His outburst left me speechless. Seeing me stunned, he sat back on his heels. I'm done with it, he said.
I'm not giving you a divorce. Want to take a bath? Get to it now. You better not forget to polish my two.
Fine.
I knew it was pointless to argue with her. As soon as I turned my back to him, his chuckles. The 20 years we had built together falling apart. At the same time, my feelings toward John were freezing. I could only feel my anger and frustration. And then, when he had fallen asleep, I packed basic things, took a spare key to the car, and left the house. It was dawn when I got to my parent. I explained my situation to them, and they responded without any questions. A few hours after I arrived, John Cat.
You, where are you? You are the worst wife, just taking that.
It wouldn't have happened if you 6 having an affair. 1.
Drop it. I'm not divorcing you. Come back now. You're supposed to of me for the rest of your life.
Something in me exploded. I was just a useful servant to him. His servant caught the affair, but she wasn't supposed to meddle. If he didn't want to come out clean, had a plan. I was going to make him regret not to his responsibility. I hung up before he could say anything. I wasn't going to let him get away with it that easily at this point. It made no sense to not demand alimony adultery. I squeezed my phone tightly and called an office of a private detective. The day of the arbitration arrived weeks later. Of course, I had prepared well for this. John, on the other hand, was going himself. It was a great turn of the event for me. He must have thought that he could easily pressure me into submitting to him like the day before. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I knew how well spoken he was, then else. The arbitrator wasn't supposed to be influenced, but who knew if John wasn't going to try? I gladly accepted to face him. He showed up looking quite disheveled. His shirt and pants were wrinkled, and his shoes were unpolished. It seemed his mistress wasn't good as I expected. The second he noticed me, he called out my name desperately and blabbered his love to me. Living alone must gotten to his. It was such a performance of his life. The arbitrator was stunned and waited for a moment. When I nudged her with a cough, she silenced John. She asked me to present first, but it was John who opened his mouth. I quietly stopped her, who tried to. He declared his love and his faith in me. He never cheated, was in love with me, and we always celebrated our anniversary over a special dinner. John's tearful plea was mixed with fact, which made it sound somehow realistic. I was quite annoyed. When the arbitrator finished, he turned to me.
Now, can you please present your cat?
There was untruth in John's claim. Adultery. I had done the best I could to take him. His adultery is a betrayal. I ask for a divorce, that's all.
I told you I never cheated on you. You better prove it.
He really wanted to see the evidence. I was ready to give them to him.
Firstly, please take a look at this. This is a picture of the car navigation history that gave me suspicion in place. It's a printout of the picture. I also found a string of hair and a piece of cloth in the car on the same day, and
I opened my CC and faced the screen, the arbitrator, and John.
this is a social media account of Mistress. It seems like he has hidden his Mar status from her, so she has been posting every outing him.
John S. smirk disappeared. The arbitrator stretched her arms to PC.
May I?
Sure, please.
The arbitrator scrolled the page as she inspected the posts. It was just a lucky guess. I realized that most of the car navigation histories was a photogenic spot. I thought there might be pictures, his mistress in the background, and searched social media using a list of keywords. I didn't have a gut to contact a private detective at that point. I was just looking for any proof. As expected, there was a large Amour data. After consuming a lot of spare time as a housewife, I finally found an account that suited me. There was a post with a comment. I went for a drive with my mature. I'm sad to lose my piercing, but I know if someone finds it, they can return it to me. She considerately uploaded a picture, same piercing I had found in the car. The owner of the account had the name of Hair, and the same coat she wore when I first saw her. There were other contents that fit with the history of car navigation. John the Baptist by Caravaggio, 15,711,610. John the Baptist by Caravaggio, 15,711,610. I was certain it was his mistress. Too bad I already had hired a detective at this point. Well, the moment I found this, I informed him. The arbitrator looked at John coldly.
This is not an affair. It's strictly a business relationship. She's the one who is misunderstood that way.
I ignored his excuses and produced evidence. Dozens of pictures that came from my detective were laid out on the table. John didn't need to excuse himself after I left. So it seemed that he was taking the opportunity to spread his wings. I heard it was so easy to take pictures with them, like comment. I heard it was so easy to take pictures with them, like going into a motel room, visiting his mistress at her house. We have been fostering children for over 10 years, and we have taken in many children who needed a safe place to stay. We have had the pleasure of watching them grow and flourish while they were with us. And it has been an incredible experience. Most of all, there was one picture caught my eye. I mumbled woof and showed the image. 50-year-old man with a leash. A young park ranger ecstatically walked towards them, his face beaming with excitement. The arbitrator clearly showed her disdain for the plaintiff's case. Every time John rushed to grab the walk photo, I retrieved another one taken from angles. I looked into his eyes and said,
Woof! Whoa! I'm a friendly dog who loves to play fetch and go on walks with my owner.
Stop it. These are not for your entertainment.
So, should I send these to your office?
No. Wait.
And now, here's another one. If I may comment, you shouldn't use as a motel room.
I showed the result of a lab test. I gave the spare key to my detective. Him swab the seats in the car. As expected, there was physical evidence to validate his adultery.
Or do you guys like to drive around your underwear? Either way, it would be wise not to.
I smiled at John, who was red-faced and trembling.
Did you enjoy the evidence?
Shell-shocked, he muttered some swear words and hung his head in despair. A poor puppy. From then on, the arbitration proceeded decent manner. In addition to the division of property, it was also decided, is there anything else you need help with? I was also to receive a hefty alimony for his betrayal in a long-standing marriage. I expected that. After everything was decided, John out something.
I'll let you have a divorce, even after paying you all that house. I'll marry my young and pretty girl. We will live a modest life, and she will slowly but surely learn to take care of the house.
What are you talking about? She's you.
What do you mean?
When she posts about the relation's social media, it's obvious that she's dating you knowing you're married. I mean, who would make such brazen posts knowing her boyfriend is married?
Her contact information was easily on social media. I reached out to her through the dispute resolution process before arbitration. She was told by John that he had a girlfriend. He had no idea she was married. She just wanted to show off to my mature boyfriend is hot and confirmed her status in society. Well, if she knew the truth, she would have posted on social media, but that didn't change the fact that he tried to steal a guy from another UC.
She said she was going to spread it on her social media.
No.
The arbitrator then said,
We're done here.
I shook hands with her and walked out of the room, leaving a pale-faced John. I heard about John and his mistress, private detective, later on. Instead of getting sympathy from her followers, she was bashed about her adultery when the truth came out. People close to her also found out, and it became too uncomfortable to stay at work anymore. No one knew where she moved to, but previous apartment suddenly became. John couldn't come up with the sum of alimony and spousal support so he sold the house and moved into an apartment. As a result of not helping with housework, she was always given the worst chores. His life was disheveled, his appearance became filthy, and the smell of garbage seeped out from the apartment. As a result, his colleagues stayed him, and his bosses were disgusted that he was demoted and moved to a corner of the office. From what I had heard, it sounded like he was still working even after his retirement. As for me, I managed to find a job hospital near my parents' house, having 20 years of blank on the job. Though I struggle with the latest equipment, I'm blessed with kind colleagues, and I'm living a fulfilling life. The alimony was used to renovate my house for their future. I'm supposed to inherit it anyway. Above all, my parents, who are getting older, have taught me to be kind, compassionate, and generous. Will have a difficult time if it renames. It's an old single-story house, but we are overjoyed. When the interior was redone in a more comfortable style, It became known as the cozy room. The cost of the private investigation reduced my savings, but I don't regret it. I can still work hard and make money. I want to buy a car for the convenience of commuting and shopping when I save up enough money. If I have a boyfriend in the future, I will definitely tell him about my past. I won't use the car for anything other than its intended purpose.